I feel like the Quinn Snyder era in Utah is one that will be clouded by revisionist history. Some people will see the 21-30 playoff record and the postseason shortcomings and act as if Quinn Snyder was a bad coach. That Los Angeles Clippers series where Terrence Mann exploded and the frequent clips of Rudy Gobert getting ISO'd don't help. Look, Quinn wasn't the greatest coach on the planet, but to me, he was pretty freaking good during the regular season. For a number of years, he tricked multiple people into thinking that same Rudy Gobert that was getting cooked in those ISO clips was the best defender on the planet, and that the Utah Jazz were so much better than their roster indicated. The problem with consistently overachieving is that when you consistently overachieve, even during the regular season, you raise the bar and the expectations for everybody, including yourself. Now, I'm not saying that that statement is relevant to the Utah Jazz. I'm just saying that there were a lot of times where the Utah Jazz would look like world beaters during the regular season. Then when the postseason would roll around, you know what? I'm not even going to say it. Now look, I'm joking about the Rudy Gobert part. I actually think that Rudy is very overhated because any Jazz defensive woes start on the perimeter. Jalen Brunson is cold, but did you guys see what he was doing to the Utah Jazz in this year's playoffs? Yeah, I rest my case. On a serious note though, I have to give it to Quinn because him and the Utah Jazz have been through a lot over the years. Of course, the adjustments could have been better and this whole situation could have played out differently, but it didn't. The situation playing out as it has us asking not only what's next for the Utah Jazz, but also what's next for Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. With the Jazz failing to make any major noise in the postseason yet again, it was clear that the Jazz needed to shake some things up. What's interesting is that the Jazz's now former coach Quinn Snyder would also agree. Sunday, Woj announced that Quinn Snyder planned to step down from his job as head coach of the Utah Jazz. Quinn actually had a really good quote about this whole situation. To quote Quinn, "At the core and what drives me every day is our players and their passion for the game, their desire to constantly work to improve, and their dedication to the team and the Jazz. I strongly feel they need a new voice to continue to evolve." That's it. No philosophical differences, no other reasons. After 8 years, I just feel it's time to move onward. As you guys can see, Quinn really cares for the Utah Jazz. He cares so much that I think he made this decision as early as he did for a reason. Now, I can't blame Quinn for his decision to step down at all, mainly because Quinn is right. Him stepping down doesn't mean his tenure was a failure or anything like that. He had a great run in Utah, but it was simply time for a change, not only for him, but also for the Utah Jazz. I know that there can be this negative stigma that surrounds change, but change can be good, especially when it occurs at the right time. Every coach is different, as is every situation. Sometimes re-energizing a locker room can be as simple as having a new voice, a new scheme, a new reason to believe that your team is capable of reaching that next level. Remember when Mark Jackson won 51 games with the Golden State Warriors, and then they brought in Steve Kerr and made a bunch of other moves? Remember when the Boston Celtics had Brad Stevens and were considered next up, and then things got a bit stagnant and then they hired Ime Udoka? Change can be good. The big question for the Utah Jazz isn't is this the right time for them, it's what comes next. According to Woj, this news stunned Mitchell. Mitchell considered Snyder a significant part of his reasoning for committing to a 5-year max contract extension in 2020. And Snyder's decision to step away on Sunday has left Mitchell surprised and disappointed. Mitchell remains fond of Snyder and accepts his reasons for stepping down, but Mitchell is spending the immediate aftermath of Snyder's decision trying to process what the coach's loss means in the larger scope for the organization and himself. Andy Larson, a beat writer for the Salt Lake Tribune, thinks that this report is part of Mitchell's desire to have a significant say in who the next coach for the Utah Jazz is. Larson broke down the situation, stating that CAA represented Donovan Mitchell had CAA represented Woj released that he was surprised and disappointed about Quinn's departure, something that has been rumored for months. Basically, nobody's surprised. According to Larson, he may be doing this so CAA represented Johnny Bryant can get the job. Larson continued, if the Jazz front office says, hey, we want to decide who the coach is, even if it doesn't please you, then Woj can release a further statement about how Donovan Mitchell is even further unsettled, and they can use it as a pretext to try to leave Utah. Basically, he sees this as a power play, and this could most definitely be the case. We see players wanting to be involved in front office decisions all the time. We even have players openly stating that they feel like they're part of the front office at times, which in my opinion can be a conflict of interest, but it's entertaining sometimes nonetheless. Now my question to you guys is that at this point, would it shock anybody if Donovan Mitchell really did want out? After the Jazz were eliminated from the playoffs, Mitchell was told that there's discussions that you could potentially ask for a trade. Could you address that? He responded with, my goal and my mindset is to win. Right now, I'm not really looking at that. This hurts. I'll think about it in a week and go from there. During that same press conference, he would be asked if the Jazz can be a championship team. His response would be, honestly, I don't know. We've come up short. To be fair, he was also straight up asked if he wanted to be in Utah, and his response to that was, yes, this hurts. I'm not going to lie, but yeah, I do. Now again, remember, all of this came after the Jazz were eliminated. Maybe Quinn's resignation makes him feel a bit differently. For some reason, saying I don't know to the question of can we be a championship team reminds me of Doc saying he doesn't know if Ben could be a championship caliber point guard. And we all know how that situation turned out. Personally, I think that Donovan will look for reasons to stay if staying can make sense for him long term. But if he has to leave at the same time, he will. Here's a reminder that about a month ago, it was reported that Rudy Gobert and Mitchell had reached the him or me point. Rudy would shoot down this rumor via Twitter, but I mean, what else is he supposed to do in this situation? According to Jake Fisher, the Jazz have been weighing trade possibilities with three-time Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert. Apparently, the Toronto Raptors are interested, and they're thinking along the lines of rim protection. You can clown Rudy Gobert all you want, but he's still going to be one of the best rim protectors in the league. Now, when it comes to Donovan Mitchell, Fisher reported that a Donovan Mitchell trade between the Knicks and Jazz is highly unlikely. League sources believe that the Heat are one team that could offer a better package around Tyler Hero and multiple first-round picks. If you were the Utah Jazz and had to make a decision, who would you be looking to trade, Rudy or Don? Also, what would you be looking to get back in either trade? Rudy's a very impactful player who's been overhated, but his massive contract also makes him a hard asset to gauge trade-wise. On the other side of things, you have Mitch, who's this dynamic scorer that when they get going, they can be flat out unstoppable. Mitch and Rudy can both be pieces that push contending teams to the next level. Look guys, if I'm Utah and I had to make a trade, I'm trading both of them unless I felt that there was a quick path to contention or rebuilding available. Tony Jones, who covers the Utah Jazz for The Athletic, said let's see if Gobert is on the roster in 3 weeks. He also said that multiple teams have called to inquire about the trade availability of Donovan Mitchell, only to be given a firm no. The Jazz have made it clear that they intend on building a roster around Mitchell. Let me know what you guys think of everything down in the comments below. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop. Until our next upload.